I'm very happy to bring you the international update for February 2009. I actually wrote this update when I was in Turkey, meeting with all our workers in that country for a few days. When I first visited Turkey, there were just 3 or 4 churches in the whole country. Today, in most of the major cities of Turkey, there are at least 2 or 3 churches, and I was even able to visit an officially government-registered church in the city that we were meeting. It's great to see what God is doing in Turkey, though, as you know, there has been a price to be paid over the years. Please pray for our workers and the workers with many other groups in that nation. In a couple of days' time, I will be leaving, along with many from my team here in Carlisle, for our international leaders meetings in São Paulo, Brazil. We would particularly request your prayers for this annual meeting. We gather together for vision casting, seek God together, and also to deal with various business items which have international significance. It's always a very, very important week, and we appreciate your prayers very much indeed. Over Christmas, there was much activity. For example, in Zurich, in Switzerland, the team, in cooperation with the Evangelical Methodist Church, held a party on Christmas Eve to share the good news with people from the city. Over 120 German Swiss made the celebration possible, and 200 guests from the city came, some with frustrations, others with worries and disappointments, and we were able to share the good news of Jesus with them. In Albania recently, there was a gathering held for believing women from the 5 evangelical churches in Lushni. Women's ministry leaders met together afterwards and identified a shared vision of promoting both women's spiritual growth and friendship between the ladies in the various churches. They testified that they often realized they'd passed one another in the city and didn't understand that they were believers from various churches in the city. On the 1st of January, it was a very important day in the history of OM when a merger took place between Pro Christo Global Mission and OM in Africa. Pro Christo Global Mission is an African missions movement. They bring about 130 African missionaries into our fellowship. They work in a number of countries where we already work in Africa, but they will take us into at least 6 new countries. Please pray for the early days of this merger of 2 missions together. Also in January, 124 newcomers joined us through our Global Action Conference in Germany. We're delighted to receive these new workers, and we'd appreciate your prayers for them as they seek to get into these teams, many of which have been together now for at least 6 months, and to receive new people at such a time is never easy. So please pray for that situation. Logos Hope, I'm sure many of you are praying. We're almost there. We're expecting to get the passenger safety certificate in the next few weeks and be sailing in the next few weeks. The ministry, however, has already begun. The onboard book fair and international cafe went into operation recently for the first ever official opening of Logos Hope. It was attended by several ambassadors of nations represented on the ship, church representatives and members of the community. The ceremony concluded with the harbour master cutting the ribbon to open the book fair. And over the following weekends of Advent, the ship was open for Christmas around the world. Cultural displays showed how Christmas is celebrated in different countries with costumed representatives, national foods and music. A little nativity scene, complete with a goat and a sheep, was a sort of great interest. Over 1,100 people came on board during the first weekend alone. So the ministry has already begun, but we're praying for the sailing of that ship from Scandinavia in the next few weeks. In Uruguay, Teen Street took place from the 14th to the 24th of January in Montevideo. Dan Potter, the leader of the program, which was called Contagious, spoke to the teenagers saying, I urge you to make a decision now. You need to decide if you want to be a friend of Jesus or go your own way. He then invited those who wanted to make a choice to leave the room and meet their leaders outside to pray. About 1/3 of the congregation left. Please pray that Teen Street will have a lasting impact on the lives of these young people. Finally, many of you have been praying for Orissa, where there's been terrible persecution of the Christians. Orissa, India. Thank God for a reasonably quiet and peaceful Christmas, though great trouble had been promised at that time. In late December, OMNIvision and the All India Christian Council began phase 2 of their relief work for the Christian victims. This includes distribution of a kitchen kit, clothes and blankets packaged in a tin or a trunk, and a nice bag. As of the 28th of January, 1,900 families have received these packages, and this relief work is scheduled to end later this month. They're aiding various people in Orissa in other ways, and we ask your prayers for ongoing peace in this troubled state, and that we'll be able to continue to minister to the believers there, many of whom have lost everything. Thank you once again for your prayers for our 5,400 workers from over 90 countries, working in now over 110 countries around the world. Your prayers are deeply appreciated. Thank you very much indeed.